fourth graders. We are back to our chapter book, Walk 2 Moons by Sharon, Creech, and today's chapter is chapter 32, and it's called Chicken and Blackberry Kisses. Okay. Gramps barreled through Wyoming like a house of fire. So that means he went through it very fast. We snaked through winding roads where the trees leaned rustling, rush. And the road curved alongside rivers that rolled and gabbled, hurry, 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 hurry. It was late when we arrived at Yellowstone. All we got to see that evening was a hot spring. We walked on boardwalks placed across the bubbling mud. Huzza, huzza, Graham said, and we stayed at the Old Faithful Inn in a frontier cabin. I'd never seen Graham so excited before. She could not wait for the next morning. We're going to see Old Faithful. She just kept saying over and over and over again. It won't take too long, will it? I asked. And I felt like a mule saying it because Graham was so excited and looking forward to it. Don't you worry, Salamanca, Graham said. We'll just watch that old geyser blow and then we'll hit the road, she said. Oh, I prayed all night long to the elm tree outside. I prayed that we would not get in an accident, that we would get to Lewiston, Idaho in time for my mother's birthday, and that we would bring her home. Later, I would realize that I had prayed for the wrong things. Sometimes we do that, don't we? We pray for the wrong things. Well, first of all, she prays to a tree, she said, because she can actually see the tree. It intimidates her praying to God, but remember, God's always right here with us, so we can pray. We need to pray to God. But it was like it was easier for her to talk to the tree, she said. But sometimes we pray for the wrong things. And that's why we need to just pray for God to give us wisdom to know what to pray for. That night, Graham was so excited that she could not sleep. She rambled on and on all about all sorts of things. She said to Gramps, you remember that letter from the Eggman that you found under the mattress that time? Of course I remember. We had a lame ding of an argument over it. You told me you had no idea how he got there, and you said that Eggman must have slipped into the bedroom and put it there. Well, I want you to know I put it there, said Graham. Well, I know that, Gramps said. I'm not a complete noodle. It's the only love letter anybody's ever wrote me, Graham said. You never wrote me any love letters. Well, you never told me you wanted one. Oh, me. To me, Graham said, your grandfather nearly killed the Eggman over that letter. Whatever, Graham said. He wasn't worth killing. Well, maybe not, but Gloria was. Ah, yes, Gramps said, placing his hand on his heart, pretending to swoon. Gloria. Cut that out, Grandma said, rolling over on her side. They are so silly, are they not? Tell me about Peavy. Tell me that story, but now don't make it awfully too sad. She folded her hands on her chest. Oh, tell me what happened with that lunatic. Okay, well, when I saw the picture of the lunatic on Sergeant Bickle's desk, I tore out of that office faster than lightning. I ran past Sergeant Bickle standing in the parking lot. There was no sign of Phoebe, and I ran all the way to her house. As I passed Miss Cadaver's house, Miss Partridge called me from her porch. You're all dressed up, I said. Going somewhere? Oh, yes, she said. I'm readable. Remember, she makes up words. She tottered down the steps, swinging her cobra cane in front of her. Are you walking? I asked. She reached down and touched her legs. Isn't that what you call it when you move your legs like I'm doing? No, I meant, are you walking to wherever you're going? I said. Oh, no, it's much too far for these legs. Jimmy's coming. He'll be here any minute. A car pulled up in front of the house. There he is, she said. She called out to the driver. I'm readable. I said I would be, and here I am. The driver leaped out of the car. Sal, he said, I had no idea you two were neighbors. It was Mr. Birchway, their teacher. We're not, I said. It's Phoebe who's the neighbor. Is that right? He said, opening the car door for Miss Partridge. Come on, Mom, let's get a move on. Mom, I said. I looked at Miss Partridge. This is your son? Why, of course, said Miss Partridge. This is my little Jimmy. But he's a Birchway, Miss Partridge said. Well, I was a Birchway once. Then I was Miss Partridge, and I'm still a partridge. Well, then who is Miss Cadaver? I said. My little Margie, she said. She was a Birchway too, and now she's a cadaver. I said to Mr. Birchway, Miss Cadaver's your sister? We're twins, Mr. Birchway said. When they had driven away, I knocked at Phoebe's door, but there was no answer. At home, I dialed Phoebe's number over and over and over again. No answer. The next day at school, I was relieved to see Phoebe. Where were you? I said. I have something to tell you. She turned away. I don't want to talk about it, she said. I do not wish to discuss it. Well, I couldn't figure out what was the matter with her. It was a terrible day. We had tests in math and science. At lunch, Phoebe ignored me. And then there comes English. And Mr. Birchway skipped into the room. People were gnawing at their fingers. They were tapping their feet and wiggling around. Remember, he just read the journals the other day, but he didn't read everybody's. So everybody must be nervous that he's going to read them. They were probably getting ulcers in their stomach, wondering if Mr. Birchway was going to read from their journals. I just stared at him. He and Margaret Cadaver were twins? Was that even possible? The most disappointing part of the piece of knowledge that was he was not going to fall in love with Miss Cadaver and marry her and take her away. Mr. Birchway opened a cupboard and pulled out the journals, slipped the yellow paper over the cover, and read one. This is what I like about Jane. She is smart, but doesn't act like she knows everything. She is cute. She smells good. She is cute. She makes me laugh. She is cute. Ooh, I got a prickly feeling up and down my arms. I wonder if Ben wrote that about me. But then I realized that Ben didn't even know me when he wrote the journal, so he couldn't have wrote that. A little buzz was going around the room as people were shifting in their seats and wondering who wrote that. Christy was smiling. Megan was smiling. Beth Ann was smiling. Mary Lou was smiling. Every girl in the room was smiling. Each girl thought that this was written about her. I looked carefully at each of the boys. Alex was gazing nonchalantly at Mr. Birchway. Then I saw Ben. He was sitting with his hands over his ears, staring down at his desk. That prickly feeling went up my neck again, and then went skipping all the way down my spine. He did write that, but he did not write it about me. Mr. Birchway exclaimed, love! Life! He pulled out another journal and read, Jane doesn't know the first thing about boys. She once asked me what kisses taste like. Ugh. So you could tell her that, you could tell she had never kissed anyone before. I told her that they taste like chicken. And she believed me. She is so dumb sometimes. Well, that's not very nice. Ooh, Mary Lou Finney jumped out of her chair. You cabbage head! Uh-oh, she figured it out. So she yelled at Beth Ann, you beef brain! Beth Ann wound a strand of hair around her finger. Oh. Mary Lou said, I did not believe you. I do know what they taste like, and it's not chicken. Ben drew a cartoon of two stick figures kissing. In the air over their heads was a cartoon bubble with a chicken saying, "Quack, quack, 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 quack." Mr. Berkway turned a few pages in the same journal and read, "I hate doing this. I hate to write. I hate to read. I hate journals. I especially hate English, where teachers only talk about idiot symbols. I hate that idiot poem about the snowy woods, and I hate it when people say the woods symbolize death or beauty or anything, any old thing that you want. I hate that. Maybe the woods are just woods." Beth Ann stood up. "Mr. Berkway, I do hate school," she said, "and I do hate books, and I do hate English, and I hate symbols, and I hate these journals." There was a hush in the room. Mr. Berkway stared at Beth Ann for a minute. And in that minute, I was reminded of Miss Cadaver. For that brief time, his eyes looked just like hers. I was afraid he was going to strangle Beth Ann. But then he smiled, and his eyes became friendly, enormous cow eyes again. I think he hypothesized her, and because, no, sorry, that's not the right word. He hypnotized her because Beth Ann sat down slowly. Mr. Berkway said, "Beth Ann, I know exactly how you feel. Exactly. I love this passage." "Do you?" she said. "It's so honest," he said. I had to admit, you couldn't get more honest than Beth Ann, telling her English teacher that she hated symbols and English and journals. Mr. Berkway said, "I used to feel exactly like this. I could not understand what all the fuss was about symbols." He rummaged around his desk. "I want to show you something." He was pulling papers out and flinging them around. Finally, he held up a picture. "Ah, here it is, dynamite." "What is this?" he asked Ben. "It's a vase, obviously," Ben said. Mr. Berkway held the vase in front of Beth Ann, who looked like she might cry. Mr. Berkway said, "Beth Ann, what do you see?" A little tear dropped down her cheek. "It's okay, Beth Ann. What do you see?" he asked her. "Well, I don't see any idiot vase," she said. "I see two people. They're looking at each other." "Right," said Mr. Berkway. "Bravo!" "I'm right? Bravo?" she said. Ben said, "Huh? Two people? I was thinking the same thing myself. What two people?" "I don't see any two people," Mr. Berkway said to Ben. "And you were right, too. So bravo to you." He asked everyone else, "How many see a vase?" About half the class raised their hands. "Now how many of you see faces?" And the rest of the class raised their hands. Then Mr. Berkway pointed out how you could see both. If you look only at the white part in the center, you could clearly see the vase. If you looked at only the dark parts on the side, you could see two profiles. The curvy sides of the vase became the outline of two heads facing each other. Mr. Berkway said that this drawing was a little bit like symbols. Maybe the artist only intended to draw a vase, and maybe some people looked at this picture and could only see that vase. That's fine. But if somebody was looking at it and see faces, what's wrong with that? It is faces to that person who is looking at it. And what is even more magnificent, you might see both. Beth Ann said, "Two for your money?" "Isn't it interesting," Mr. Berkway said, "to find both? Isn't it interesting to discover that snowy woods could be death and beauty and even, I suppose, anything old? Wow, literature." I thought Mr. Berkway was finished with the journals for that day, but he made a great show of closing his eyes and pulling something from near the bottom of the stack. She popped the blackberries into her mouth, and then she looked all around. Oh, it was mine. I could barely bear it. She took 2 steps up to the maple tree and threw her arms around it and kissed it. People were giggling, and I could detect a small dark stain as from a blackberry kiss. Ben looked at me from across the room. After Mr. Berkway read about my mother's blackberry kiss, he read about how I kissed the tree, and how I've kissed all different kinds of trees since then, and how each tree has a special taste all on its own, and mixed in with that taste is the taste of blackberries. By now, because both Ben and Phoebe were staring at me, everybody else in the class was staring at me too. She kisses trees, Megan said. I might have died right then and there if Mr. Berkway had not immediately picked up another journal, and he stabbed his fingers into the middle of the page and read, I am very concerned about Mr. Berkway stared down at the page. It looked as if he couldn't read the handwriting. He started again. I am very concerned about Mrs. Corpse. Her suspicious behavior suspects that she has murdered her own husband. Phoebe's eyes blinked rapidly. Go home, Ben said. Finish. You could tell that Mr. Berkway was regretting that he ever started this business with the journals. But all around the room were people shouting, yeah, finish it. Finish it. Finish. So he reluctantly continued. I believe she has buried him in her backyard. When the bell rang, people went berserk. Wow, a murder? Who wrote that? Is it real? Is it real? Who wrote it? Everybody was yelling. I was out of the room then faster than anything, chasing after Phoebe. Megan called out for me. You kissed trees? Oh, I tore out of the building. No, Phoebe. Oh. Idiot journals, I thought. Idiot journals. Ugh. I do not think it was a good idea for Mr. Berkway to read the journals aloud. What do you think? I don't think so either. So, I wonder if he's regretting that now. Probably. All right. See what happens next. Talk to you later. Bye.